Alright guys, so I was going to film for you today my Friendship Friday, know a little bit more about me, but I never got around to it. I just haven't felt like picking up the camera today, but I decided I'm gonna pick it up and show you what I'm making for dinner. It's called kielbasa hot potato slaw. My husband picked it out. I don't know if I will like it. I know the kids won't like it. But I am just in the process of making it and thought I would bring you along, and then I will talk more about me, and that way you can get to know me a little bit better, and I would love to hear from you and get to know you. So come along with me. Welcome back, guys. I know I am late on getting this up to you because I just didn't have the motivation to pick up the camera yesterday. So I picked it up a little bit last night, but I just wasn't feeling like talking about myself like most of the time. But I thought I would get on here because I did promise you that I would give you some more information about myself. It's feeling more like a, I don't know, in between summer and fall here today. It's very like window opening kind of weather. It's not like super cold and it's not like super warm. It's like in between. But it's like super warm in my house because I was baking some biscuits for Bubba this morning for breakfast. I am working hard in the house today because I have my make and take essential oil class tomorrow evening, and so I am just trying to get my house in order. So it probably looks like I'm not looking at you like I am now because I'm not looking into the lens. I'm looking at my side screen on the front of my camera. I'm so used to looking at the side screen to see how everything's looking in the picture. So I'm sorry if it looks like I'm not looking at you. It's just force of habit. But I have the back door open so the cat came inside. Mr. Olaf. See this mess I got going on? My box of stuff that I'm selling, I'm working on posting online for sale. And then I have, move cat, all of this that I have to take care of. This is all, except for this box right here, that's our school box. But all this stuff is for sale. I need to make sure that I have pictures of everything. So I'm probably going to take everything out of the bag today and repicture it so I can get it up. So, a little bit about me. Maybe a lot about me. You know me, I go off on tangents on something. Totally get distracted. Should go put my focus blend on. Sounds like a good idea. My lovely best friend made me a focus blend to help. So, let's see here. What did I do with it? I had it yesterday. Oh, it fell down. So, I love having my essential oils. I call it my happy blend. And so, put it on your third eye. You can put it on your big toe. Sometimes I'll put it on my wrist, just depending. But most of the time I just stick it on my third eye. And of course I always have my stress away. I put several different oils on Reba this morning, and Digize was one of them because I don't have tummy Gize yet. Her tummy wasn't feeling all that great last night. She had really bad poopy issues. Sorry, TMI, but if you hear that funny noise in the background, our neighbors are blowing leaves. Well, they're not blowing, they're vacuuming them up with their thing. And my son is outside riding his four-wheeler. So, and I have our back door open to let some fresh air in. You know, when it gets nice outside, I like to open up the house to try and clean out, like, you know, the warm weather smell. And, mailman's going by. And get out, you know, any germs. Just kind of help freshen the air a little bit. Plus, I'll put on the diffuser so that way it purifies the air as well, which I need to get done. I need to get them all in here, cleaned out, and started to help freshen the air. So, I will be turning 29 next month. I still feel like I'm in high school sometimes, you know. I don't feel like I've aged. I don't feel like I look like I've aged sometimes, but it is what it is. My husband and I, we got together, I think it was my junior year, maybe my sophomore year. I don't know, I was 15 or 16, I think I was 16, and funny story, I was with another guy that I had been with before, and we had gotten back together. And we had taken dance classes before together, and we wanted to take more dance lessons. This time we did country western dance lessons. So the first night that we go and do our dance lessons, we're sitting there in the parking lot waiting because we were early. And this car pulls up next to, his name was John, his side of the truck. Well, I'm going to get my tripod out so I don't make you guys sick by all the moving around. I'll try and sit down. So let me hook this up and I'll be right back. Alright, so now that I got the tripod set up, I'm in a quiet room because son decided to come in. So this guy pulls up in this vehicle next to us, and John rolls his window down. He's like, "Hey, Daniel, how's it going?" And I look over, and he has this cowboy hat on. He's got blue eyes. He's like this tall, slender, southern accented guy. I was like, oh my goodness, my dreams just came true. So they chit chat for a little bit, and John rolls his window up because it was time for us to go inside. And I looked over at him and I was like, who is that? And he's like, oh, that's Brett's older brother. Brett's a couple years older than me, so I knew who Brett was in school. And I was like, Brett has a brother? And so from then on, I like made every excuse to, let's go hang out with Daniel, let's go mudding with Daniel, because we're both country folk. And we always were hanging out. So my mom goes to John and says, do you not understand what you're doing? I mean, he's kind of a special kind of guy anyway. But he always gave me attention, and that in high school, that's all what I wanted, It's like I always had to have attention. Sad, really. But he didn't get it. And so finally, February 21st of 2005, I call up John and I'm like, I think it's over. We're done, I don't even know how I put it. I just know that I broke up with John. And then I called Daniel way back before, I had a cell phone. I called Daniel and I'm like, so, broke up with John. Do you want to go out? And so I asked Daniel, and he felt kind of bad because, I did that to John, but he liked me, he the first impression he had of me, he said, and cover any little ears that are around, but he's like, my first glimpse of you, I just wanted to lick you, stick you, and send you on your way. I mean, I'm real, guys, right here, so that's why I said cover the little ears. Because we are a very open couple, we don't hide much of anything. And so he told me that later on, in our relationship, and I was like, oh, really? Well, the first time, and I'm terrible, I can't even remember what day it was, but my dad was a truck driver, so he was always gone. And so the first time Daniel came over to meet my dad, again, cover little ears, like really, this is getting a little TMI, but this is my dad. My dad is 75 years old. He's 20 years older than my mom, so he's and he was born and raised in the South, so he's very well open as well. So my dad comes in. Daniel's a gentleman. He stands up to shake his hand. My dad reaches out to shake his hand and says, boy, you stick a dick in her, you're a dead man. Hi, my name's Bobby. So, and I will stick pictures of, my dad and Daniel, and different pictures within this video so you guys can see. So that's my dad. And Daniel was a gentleman, he wasn't worried, he wasn't scared. He just did his thing. He knew he liked me, so that was all that mattered. So from then on, he, always hung out with me. We were always together. I mean, he was driving, so. And then even while I was in high school, because Dad was always gone, and I think my mom knew that Daniel was the one. I knew the night, because that same night, Dad had also left to go back out on the road, and so my mom let Daniel stay the night because we just were talking about everything. I mean, we didn't even go to sleep, and he had to go to work the next day. It was a Sunday. And we stayed up, I think it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and maybe it was a Friday. I don't remember. But I know Daniel had to go to work the next day. And he had to go home first to get changed. But Mom just let him stay the night. We never fell asleep. We just laid on the bed together. Didn't do anything. We just talked. And I told him I loved him. We hadn't even been together a week. And I told him I loved him. I just knew. I just knew in the bottom of my heart he was the one I was going to marry, one way or the other. So, ever since then, since February 21st of 2005, we have been together. The sun's going to come out for a brief moment and blind me. We've definitely had our ups and downs. I mean, what relationship hasn't? And here in 2012 probably would have been our roughest patch. You know, we almost lost our marriage due to infidelities on my part. There was a lot of distance between us. There wasn't a lot of intimate talking or intimacy of any sort. We were just drifting further apart. And one thing that we noticed was the fact that God wasn't the center of our marriage anymore. And so we immediately decided we were going to go to counseling. We were going to fix this because the day that we got married, which was May 30th of 2009, he had told me, he goes, the only way out of this marriage is by death. So are you sure? You know, and I was sure. And so if I had the chance to do it all again, I would do it again, even though there are things, you know, now that I've seen that I wish I could have not, you know, changed, because he's a very different man, unlike many. There's not a lot of romance. I mean, he is very, the one thing that I know from Daniel is that he doesn't have a problem telling you his mind. And the one thing that he always does is he always tells me he loves me, no matter what. Even if it's a short phone call, he always makes a point to say that. In the almost 13 years that I've been with him, sadly, I don't think I've ever, maybe once or twice, seen his parents say, I love you, or seen his parents kiss. I mean, they're a very different family compared to what I grew up with. I grew up with a very open, you know, loving family, romantic, so to speak, you know, and Mom was always very open with me, and, you know, via counseling, maybe too open at a young age, but he's very different. He doesn't like to feel vulnerable. He doesn't want to show his vulnerability. But he's a very loving, caring man, and he's very, very protective of me and, of course, the kids. Always has been. And he's just a great guy. So, that's just kind of the gist of Daniel and I. So, he lived with us while I was in high school, and then moved back home, you know, just so that way we weren't conflicting our relationship. So, the day I graduated, which was, May 19th of 2007, I graduated, and then that next day, I moved out. Daniel and I moved in together, which was a total against, you know, kind of my way of growing up. It was against my parents, so to speak. I mean, I was always a daddy's girl, but then when boys came into the picture, it was like he wanted nothing to do with me because he wasn't the center man in my life. And so, Daniel and I went on vacation while I was still in high school on spring break, and, you know, Daniel and I made the agreement that I would pay half. Well, Dad's old school, and he's like, if a guy asks you, he should pay all of it. I was like, well, that's not what we agreed on. It was my decision to help pay because I was going on the trip too, and we weren't married. Even if it was old school. But we went on a spring break to Texas, where his family always went and camped and went fishing. And I'll put some pictures in there of that trip. That was fun. And, when we got back, Dad he's like, well, cover little ears. If you're just going to F her, then you might as well move in together. Because Dad was just done at that point. He was just, I'm not his little girl anymore, so you might as well just get out, more or less. I still have a good relationship with Dad. We talk hardly, but he hasn't ditched me out of his life. Mom and Dad aren't together anymore. So that's just kind of how that happened. So the next day, Daniel packed up his truck of my stuff, and I moved in with him. We lived in this chunky old farmhouse. That was quite an experience for sure, and I think I can find some pictures of that. Quite the experience living in that house, and we lived there for 2, maybe 3 years. We moved in 2007 and we moved out in 2010, so about a full 3 years, because it was April of 2010 when we bought this house. 2009 we got married and lived there for another year after marriage. I was also going to Allen Community College for my associate's degree. I was paying my own way. I paid my whole way to college. My parents didn't help whatsoever, and that was fine. That's why I'm really trying to focus on our budget so I don't have to do that to my kids. I'm trying to really Dave Ramsey this. So, I paid my way through Allen County, got my associates. Then I went to Washburn for a while. All this, I was working at, a month after I graduated, I got a job at the Department of Veterans Affairs in the HR office, because HR is my background. Got that right out of high school. Perfect job. Made great money, great benefits. It worked around my school schedule because it was like a student program. I worked there for 7 years, maybe almost 7 years, like almost right at 7 years, before things just got so bad that I just had to get out. Then I went to the state and worked there at the Department of Health and Environmental Laboratories. I started in the breath alcohol program as their administrative assistant, and then they promoted me up to administrative specialist for the whole laboratory, which took care of a whole lot more. I worked there, and I got hired with the breath alcohol program. Christine Houston was like the best boss I think I've ever had. I would work for her any day. She hired me. I was 8 months pregnant. The rest of her interviewing team wasn't so sure they wanted me, but she knew she wanted me. So she got me. And that was like the best team I'd ever worked with. Then when I was the whole lab specialist, I delivered Weston, and within that year, I was taking too much time off, they said, and so they fired me. In my opinion, it's like, okay, I have 2 children, I'm the caregiver, my husband's really the breadwinner. Yeah, by that time I was making $14 an hour, finishing up my bachelor's degree in HR management. I felt it was a blessing to get fired because they were also changing a lot of things and they were turning into very evil people. Like, they fired a supervisor, literally, for not spying on her people. I mean, that's how bad it got. So, I got fired there, and of course, between, our finances and his folks, I was forced to go back to work. So I found a job I did a contract company, and they found me a job. It was a terrible fit, so I worked there for a while, and then I quit there. And of course, all this time, it was very rocky with his parents being involved in our finances, trying to help us out, and Daniel not being happy that I'm not happy and quitting jobs, or losing jobs, either one. And so when I left there, I had just started with Dylan's Kroger. I started in the bakery because I'd always heard great things about Kroger. They take care of their employees, the benefits are almost better than the state. And so I was like, well, I'm going to get on there, because it's just right down the road here. So I started in the bakery as a bakery clerk, or whatever they call them. And it was shift work, so it just depended on, finally she got me to where I was doing the 6 a.m. to 2:30, because her assistant manager for that section had left. And so she was kind of training me to do that job. Well, I kept trying, and looking for different positions within their office or within their building to try and move up. Well, the manager of the store had said, okay, I got your resume and your application for the payroll job that I had applied for. And she's like, I don't see you in payroll. I actually have something else in mind for you. Because I was always a bubbly person, I was always great to customers. They always had great feedback on me. I found out then that I was getting promoted to customer service assistant manager. It was like almost a $5 raise from what I was making. It was going to be full-time, because with the bakery I was only part-time. So I would be full-time, benefits, great pay. Okay. I was excited, I actually had I had manager title in my name, I was excited. My family was excited, until I worked in that area long enough and was working until 10:30 at night. Wasn't getting to see the kids because of course they were going to daycare. And my daughter started to play sick so she could stay home and spend time with me. And if any of you are a mama, you knew that was the time to change. When my daughter's acting sick so she can spend time with mom, it's time to stay home. I prayed and prayed about it because I knew that if I brought up staying home, Daniel would say no. Not happening, because we agreed, when we got together or got married, that I would always have to work if we wanted a nice living. And so I prayed. My heart it just felt like he was telling me, like God was telling me, you need to stay home. I didn't worry about our finances. I let it all to God. He had us 100%. I knew he would take care of our needs one way or the other. Yeah, there might be some struggling, but we'll get through it because he always pulls us through times of struggle. So I gave my 2-week notice without telling anybody. I felt it was the right thing that I was doing, was quitting to stay home with my kids. As soon as I told Daniel, it was an awful situation. He was very irate. So was his dad, because his dad is like a drama king. I always hated him being involved in personal situations because it was like over dramatic and it stressed me out. But the day that I went into work, I was pulled into the offices. It was 2 days before my last day. And they're like, well, we did a final review of your file and, any of the days that you have taken off or were, called in. We just added it all up and you've had enough points that we're just going to go ahead and let you go. So they fired me. And of course, that was a shocker because, 2 days before I was quitting anyway. Fine, whatever. It was a blessing. I knew Daniel would be totally upset because I was to go into the offices and say, I retract my 2 weeks. But my heart felt, and even my best friend said, it was meant to be. God had a reason for you not to be able to stay. I totally agree. It's been over a year. I've been home. Yeah, we've struggled financially. I'm working really hard. I don't spend money like I used to at all. I used to be like the frivolous eBay shopper, and now we have Amazon. I was constantly always getting packages in the mail. Daniel's like, seriously, what is it now? It would be a new phone case or this little knickknack or that or this, nothing necessity. So, I am happily a stay-at-home mom, striving very hard to work on our budget because, yes, we still struggle financially. I'm happy that I can do YouTube, not that it's paying me anything. I'm not. Sorry guys, my battery died and just cut me off. So I hope someday to have a big YouTube channel. I've watched Kimmy and She's in Her Apron grow so much in the last year that I've watched her, and it's just been awesome. And I pray that someday I can do the same thing, where I can financially boost our family to be able to have the YouTube income. Excuse me. But you got to start somewhere. I also do a little Memories Embraced photography, because embracing memories for a lifetime is, it's very important to me. And I wish I would have been more of a vlogger back when my kids were itty bitty. And I know most moms would say the same thing. I know Kimmy did. And because it would have just been so much more to cherish. And it's just amazing. Capturing memories via pictures and video is just a lifetime of memories to keep. And I also share my Young Living. I do make money from it from time to time because really our Young Living has changed our lives. I haven't been sick at all this year, which normally I'm been already crashed in bed at least once. I have not been sick at all. I can think. Not yet.
Mama,
What?
can we go?
In a minute, honey, okay? I'm almost done. Health-wise, it's been amazing to us. My husband takes a daily allergy capsule. Well, it's not really an allergy capsule, but it helps with the seasonal change. I call it allergy because he used to take an allergy pill, so I replaced his allergy pill from over the counter to this. But that has changed our lives for the health and some financial. And let's see, what else to tell you? There's just so much. We had our daughter, we got married May 30th of 2009. We had our daughter September 29th of 2011. And it was a surprise. We're not planning on pregnancy yet. And then we were surprised with Weston's pregnancy as well. And we had him July 17th of 2014. So that is just a kind of long tidbit of my life. If there are any other questions, I would love to hear them. You can email me, you can comment below. I'm on Instagram, you can find me here. Also, don't forget to hit my face down below and subscribe, and check out these amazing videos for the day in the life and my crazy life that I live. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on Sunday.